What is up, people? I hope you're doing great. I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to another video. Welcome to my channel. Now, guys, as you can see, I have changed my setup a little bit. I'm at the thingy. I'm at the lounge. Um, because like where I usually shoot, so like that's my sister's room. So now my sister is back, and my niece is sleeping there. So I can't thingy. I can't go and shoot there, otherwise I'll wake up. So that's why I'm like I've changed my setup, but I have installed new globes here, so that's why the light is a lot better than the last time I did here. So yeah, guys, that's why I've changed my setup. But anyways, obviously, this the purpose of this video is to preview the games for this weekend. We've got some big fixtures coming up this weekend. We've got two fixtures where the big six clubs are playing against one another. So we've got Liverpool playing against Tottenham, and we've got Chelsea playing against Arsenal. Both the games are playing. The game between Liverpool and Tottenham is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and the game between Chelsea and Arsenal is at the Bridge. So some cracking fixtures, obviously. And then also we have the two Manchester clubs. Manchester City is playing Fulham, and Man United is playing Aston Villa. Aston Villa. Yeah, and Aston Villa have a new coach. Unai Emery is a new Aston Villa coach. He's going to be taking his first game in charge of Aston Villa. So that's going to be an interesting matchup as well. It's going to be interesting to see what Unai Emery does in terms of his first team selection and how he sets up his team, and like looking at kind of like the patterns of play that he's going to try and implement. Obviously, there's not a lot of time between when he took his first training session, because he had to sort out his work permit and stuff like that. So he only started coaching on the 1st of November. So he might not have had like his tactics already stamped on the side, but it's going to be interesting to see how he sets up against Man United when they play against Villa. Against Man United, I don't know. Yeah, obviously Man United are playing Villa. So when he's playing against Man United, it's going to be interesting to see how he sets up. But yeah, guys, those are the games that I'll finish like previewing. I'll start with the big ones. So I'll start with the game between Liverpool and let me start with Arsenal v Chelsea. I'll start with the team that is currently top of the league, Arsenal, as well as Chelsea. Obviously, this is a fascinating game, and it's going to be interesting to see how this one pans out, because Graham Potter has been chopping and changing his side quite a bit, and even though they've only lost one game, so that being Chelsea, like they being Chelsea, even though they've lost only one game under Graham Potter, they have not really, like, Graham Potter has not really stamped his authority on the side in terms of his style of play. There are patterns of play developing, but it's not yet like it's not yet full flowing, and obviously it's going to take time. This is by no means like I'm not by any means trying to judge Graham Potter, because he's only had 10 games in charge, but he's playing against Arsenal, and Arsenal are replaying well so far this season. They've only lost one game against Man United. Obviously, they lost in the Europa League against PSV, but I'm not like really interested in what they do in the Europa League. But they've only lost one game in the Premier League against Man United, and apart from that, they also drew against Southampton. And then apart from those two games where they dropped points, they've won all their other games. So that's been a very good start to the season for them. And then obviously Chelsea are kind of like they still trying to build they're trying to build momentum under Graham Potter. They're still trying to get used to the patterns of play, and Graham Potter is also still trying to get used to the players, because he's chopping and changing quite a bit. Like 1 minute he's playing Sterling as a winger, 1 minute he's playing him as a wing back, and like he's trying to find his best side, and he does not yet know. I'm sorry for that, guys. The ring light just collapsed here. I don't know why that happened. I apologize for that, guys. But I was saying, like, Graham Potter is still trying to stamp his authority in the team, and he's still trying to find his best side. He's still trying to find the personnel that is best suited to play the way he wants to play, and that's why he's chopping and changing a little bit. And as a result of that, he might come unstuck against Arsenal, because Arsenal know exactly what they're doing. They know their patterns of play. They press high, and they dominate possession, and they attack. Their best form of defense is to attack. They try to play on the front foot. So if Graham Potter does not get his tactics spot on, he could get embarrassed by Arsenal simply because of the way Arsenal have been playing so far this season. So, but also on the flip side, Graham Potter could get his team selection right for this particular game and they might win against Arsenal, which would be a statement victory for them because they would be beating the team that is top of the table. So like there's so many facets to this game, and if Arsenal lose this game, the narrative about them kind of winning against the lesser sides, the so-called lesser sides, and crumbling against the big sides is going to start developing because they lost against Man United. Obviously, they won against Liverpool and they won against Spurs. The game against Tottenham, when they won against Tottenham, I'm not really impressed by that. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at the record between Arsenal and Tottenham, the North London derby record, Arsenal always win at home, Tottenham always win at home. So it's like the away side never wins. And Tottenham were playing away in that particular game. So that's why I'm not overly impressed by that, because even last season, when Arsenal were not as good as they are this season, they still beat Spurs at home and they were beaten by Spurs away. That's kind of the trend that the fixture takes. It's like the away side never wins. I think in the last 20 fixtures between Arsenal and Tottenham, the away side hasn't won. And that's why I'm saying I'm not overly impressed by the fact that Arsenal were able to beat Tottenham when they were playing at home, simply because that's what always happens whenever the North London derby comes, or whenever the North London derby is playing. Yes, against Liverpool, they won, but Liverpool are a shell of themselves, or are a shadow of their former selves this season, in that, like, they seem like they can't defend. It's like Virgil van Dijk for the past, apologize guys, I was just reaching for my bottle. But for the past 3-4 years, Virgil van Dijk has been universally recognized by many people as the best centre-back in the world. Some people have even called him one of the best centre-backs to ever play in the Premier League. Now, I'm not saying this is not true. Personally, I think there is a bit of recency bias when you talk about him being one of the greatest centre-backs to play in the Premier League, because you can't be nostalgic about these things. You have to think about the legends that were defenders before Van Dijk even came to the Premier League. The likes of John Terry, the likes of Rio Ferdinand, the likes of Vidic, the likes of Ledley King. Who are these guys? Like, there's many top class centre backs who played. Vincent Kompany. I'm just trying to think about these top class centre backs who've played in the Premier League. Like, there's loads of top class centre backs who've played in the Premier League in the past. So I think there is a bit of recency bias, in the sense that the way, like, people talk about Van Dijk, or were talking about Van Dijk before this slump in form that they're having right now, where it's like it seems like they can't defend whatsoever. Like they can't defend to save their lives. They're conceding goals left, right, and centre. So I think there is a bit of recency bias there, even though I really rate Van Dijk in terms of being one of the best centre-backs in the world, because he's a top class centre-back. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that, like, okay, what was I talking about? I've kind of lost track what I was talking about now. Oh, I was talking about Arsenal winning against Liverpool. Yes, I apologize, guys. Like, I kind of lost track in terms of, like, what I was talking about. Because I was finding myself talking about Van Dijk. Okay, why am I talking about Van Dijk? Okay, now I get, like, what I was saying. But basically, I was saying that, like, yes, Arsenal were able to beat Liverpool, but Liverpool this season have been a shambles. Like, as I'm saying, like, their defense this season, it's like the weakest it's been in 5 years. The last time Liverpool were defending this bad was back in probably 2016-17, 2017-18, before Virgil van Dijk went to Liverpool. And to sum that up, Virgil van Dijk has lost his first game at Anfield since he arrived at Liverpool. Now, Van Dijk arrived at Liverpool in January of 2018. No? Was it? No, yeah, it was January of 2018. Yes, it was January of 2018. And this is the first time, like, last week against Leeds United was the first time he's lost at Anfield. That kind of tells you in a nutshell how bad they've been this season, because whenever Van Dijk has been in the side in the past 5 years, they haven't lost at Anfield, and they lost at Anfield, and their defense is just a shambles. So yes, I was impressed by Arsenal when they beat Liverpool, but they beat a Liverpool side that's really not that great at this moment in time. So if they lose against Chelsea, then you could see the narrative building that, like, I'm not convinced by this Arsenal side, because every time they play a side that can hurt them, they seem like they can't win. That narrative is going to start building. The media is going to try and build that narrative. So this is also a good opportunity for Arsenal to kind of lay down the authority and announce themselves, like announce that they have arrived. They are in the title race, and prove the doubters wrong. Like myself, because I don't believe they're going to win the league. I don't believe they'll be even in the title race when we get to March, April. So this is an opportunity for them to kind of prove the narrative that I'm trying to build, that some people are trying to build, in that they're not capable of winning the league by beating all these top teams that they're playing against, like outplaying them and basically beating them in these games, because they're still trying to build a reputation in terms of, like, as a title challenger. Arsenal is a big football club, obviously, who were challenging for league titles when the likes of Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp were still at the football club. But the last time Arsenal won a league title was in 03-04. So basically, the last time Arsenal won the league, I was literally a few days old, because the last time they won the Premier League was in May of 2004, which is when I was born, and I'm now 18. So it's like they have not been title challengers for a considerable amount of time. So they have to build that, like, they have to try and earn that respect from people by beating each and everyone that they come across, by beating each and every team that they face, so that we can start believing in them, that they are a genuine title challenger. If they win against, like, the lesser sides, and they win against teams that are not playing well, and they keep losing against the top sides, then we're just going to keep saying that, oh well, Arsenal are not that good, and therefore it's not really like, we shouldn't really be concerned about them being a title challenger, because they always lose against the lesser sides. So I think this is a good opportunity for Arsenal to try and make sure that, like, they kind of build their momentum with regards to the title race, and also to make sure that they basically, like, they prove the doubters wrong, and like stamp their authority as title challengers, and back the fact that they are currently top of the league. Because as much as we can praise Man City, that they one of the best clubs in Europe, they play one of the some of the best football, if not the best football in Europe. As much as we can say that, Arsenal are top of the league. So if they continue to keep this momentum going, if they continue to keep winning against these lesser sides, I think it's a genuinely good opportunity for them to kind of build this narrative about themselves, that they will be title challengers this season. Obviously, this is all going to depend. Obviously, like, when you talk about title challenges, it's all going to depend on whether they're able to keep their players fit. Because, like, if you lose your key players, then it kind of jeopardizes the opportunity that you might have to win the league. So that's also a very important factor in terms of whether Arsenal can, or like, whether they will win the league, or whether they'll be in the title race. Injuries play a very important role in all of this. As much as we can, like, talk about who's going to win the league, who's not going to win, who's going to finish top 4, who's going to get relegated, all of this depends on injuries. So you need that stroke of luck of not getting too many of your key players injured at the same time, because that's when things start to unravel and you start losing games. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Arsenal play against Chelsea, because they actually won at Stamford Bridge last year when they played against Chelsea. So they're not going to be nervous with regards to going to Stamford Bridge, because they already won there last season. They're actually going to be very confident when they're going there, when they step onto that football pitch. One, because Graham Potter keeps chopping and changing his side, and it seems like he doesn't know what his best side is. And two, the fact that they won there last year, and the fact that they are now better than they were last year. So Arsenal have all the confidence in the world when they will have all the confidence in the world when they arrive at Stamford Bridge, when they step foot onto that football pitch, because they have no reason to doubt themselves against Chelsea, as they showed their quality there last season. So it's going to be a fascinating game between Arsenal. So I actually forgot this one. Aubameyang is going to be playing against Arsenal. No, this is really going to be fascinating. I'm fascinated to see whether Aubameyang is gonna celebrate against Arsenal if he scores for Chelsea. I actually think he might celebrate. I think he's got like, not that he's got a beef with Arteta, but he's not happy with how Arteta treated him. When Arteta basically axed him from the side, and he basically said he should be offloaded by the football club. The club should try and do everything in their power to get rid of him, and make sure that he goes to another football club. I'm pretty sure Aubameyang was not happy about that situation. And actually, Aubameyang loved Arsenal because he actually has a tattoo of himself and his kids, like looking at the, not looking, but like basically coming out of the tunnel at the Emirates Stadium, and basically looking at the stadium. So he has a picture of him and his two kids doing that. So that tells you that he genuinely loved Arsenal, and he was the captain of the football club. So I'm fascinated to see. I think as much as he doesn't hate the club, but he's not happy with how he was treated like when he left Arsenal. So I'm pretty sure he's probably going to celebrate. And obviously he's not going to want to be childish, but a guy who's really childish would go and celebrate in front of Arteta to try and kind of like rub it in his face that he scored against Arsenal. So that's going to be a fascinating story in terms of seeing what's going to happen in that situation. Like, should that situation happen in the game if he does score against Arsenal? That's going to be really interesting. It would actually be very interesting if he scores towards the away end. So if he scores like when actually the away end is this side. Well, if you're looking at Stamford Bridge in my direction, the away end is this side. So like it's to my left. So it's actually going to be very interesting to see like if he scores on that away end, is he going to celebrate, or is he just going to just be respectful towards the Arsenal supporters and all of that stuff. Like I'm really fascinated. Like I think it's really going to be fascinating to see what's going to happen in that situation. But I think this is going to be a cracking game, man. I think it's going to be a great game of football to watch. I'll definitely be watching it. Kickoff is at 2 p.m. here in South Africa, and I think it's at 12 p.m. in the UK. So this is really going to be fascinating, and I'm looking forward to the game. I'm going to back Arsenal to win. Because of how good Arsenal are playing so far this season. Obviously, I'm not going to be surprised if Chelsea win, because Chelsea have the quality players to hurt like any opponent that they come up against, especially a team like Arsenal, who like playing on the front foot, who like playing attacking football, because there's always an opportunity to counter-attack them. And with the likes of Sterling who and Aubameyang, who are really quick, they can get some joy in terms of counter-attacking Arsenal. So I think this is really going to be a fascinating game, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to pan out. I'm going to say Arsenal are going to win. I'm going to go for a narrow 2-1 Arsenal win. But I would not be surprised if Chelsea win against Arsenal, because I think they have the tools to hurt Arsenal, especially on the break, because Arsenal play on the front foot and they want to play basically on the halfway line with their centre-backs basically playing as a back two and their fullbacks attacking. So I think it's going to be really fascinating to see this game. And then obviously I'll move on to the next game, guys. The next big game of this weekend, which is between Liverpool and Tottenham. Now, obviously these sides, like the Spurs supporters are sulky at this moment in time, in that they're playing bad. Like they're not playing great football. They're boring to watch. Antonio Conte is too negative. Antonio Conte needs to get sacked. Antonio Conte is not the right manager for Tottenham, because his style is too negative. So a lot of Spurs fans are talking about that at this moment in time. But also some Spurs supporters are saying, come on guys, let's not be deluded here. We've played great football under previous managers and we've never won anything. Why don't we give this guy, who is a serial winner, who wins everywhere he goes, why don't we give him a chance? Why don't we give him an opportunity to show what he can do with this squad of players? We don't know if whether or not we're going to win a trophy under this guy. We might end the season with a trophy. We might end our trophy drought, because Arsenal haven't won a trophy since 2008. The last time they won a trophy was the League Cup in 2008. So some Spurs supporters are saying, like, come on guys, let's give this guy a chance, because you don't know what you simply don't know what he's going to be capable of doing with this squad of players. It's only been 12 games so far this season. And it's not that he's been playing, like, obviously the style of football is not that great. It's not the most attractive. It's not as attractive as Arsenal or Man City or Liverpool like last year. Obviously, Liverpool are not playing really well at this moment in time. So it's not the most attractive style of football, but it's getting results because we're still third in the Premier League. We're only 5 points off Arsenal, who are top of the league. So why does it matter the style of play that we're playing? Like, yes, Arsenal are playing better than us. Yes, Man City are playing better than us. They're playing a better style of football than us. They are more easy on the eye than us. They're more pleasing to the eye than us. But we are still 5 points behind them. We're still 5 points behind Arsenal. So what's the big deal? What's the fuss all about? Why are we sulking? Like, why are we complaining? Why are we calling for Antonio Conte to get sacked? So there's kind of mixed reactions between the Spurs supporters at this moment in time, even though they really started the season off well, because when you actually look at the record books, the start that they've had to this season is the best they've ever had in their history. It's the best they've ever had since 1960. So whether you're playing like bad football or you're playing great football, they've played great football before, and they have never had their best start to a season since 1960. And now they're playing under Antonio Conte, and they're not playing their best, but they've still had their greatest, their best start to a season since the 60s. So I think I'm more inclined with the Spurs supporters that are kind of criticizing the Spurs supporters who are criticizing Antonio Conte, because I think like Antonio Conte has not been given an opportunity at Spurs. Now, look, I wouldn't want Antonio Conte to be my coach or like to be the coach of the football club that I support, because the style of football is not that great. But if I'm a Spurs supporter and I don't really have much of a choice, because let's face it, guys, Spurs don't really invest. Like, when you compare them to Man City, to Man United, to the likes of Real Madrid, to Chelsea, to Barcelona, they don't spend a lot of money. They only spend like 100 million or 150 million max per transfer window. Now, if you're not going to spend at least like maybe 200 million in a calendar year trying to improve your squad, then you can't expect that like you will be commanding a manager that is a top-class manager, because top-class managers go to football clubs that spend money, because that's where they are at their most comfortable. They will get everything that they want. So like it's a situation whereby no, you can go. Sorry guys, like I'm with my niece here, so she might scream or something. So I apologize for any noises if you hear that. But basically, I'm saying you cannot expect your football club to be commanding a manager that is one of the best managers in the world, because some of the best managers in the world, if they get a job offer at Man City or Real Madrid or Man United, they'll choose Man United before Spurs. Why? Because they'll get more money at those football clubs. Therefore, that means they're going to be bringing more quality players into the side. Like, Spurs only have 2 players that you can call world-class in their team. Son, Kane. I know Son has not started this season on a good note, but Son has shown us enough in previous seasons to basically, it's deserving that we call, like, I personally believe that he's a world-class footballer. Yes, I know he's not played well so far this season, but with regards to what I've seen from Son in previous seasons, I think he deserves to be called a world-class player. And then Harry Kane, obviously, we know what he brings to the table. Those are the only 2 players genuinely that you can say are world-class at Tottenham. Now, if you have a coach and you are competing against the likes of Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, and that coach basically after 12 games has you third in the Premier League, you're only 5 points off top, then I don't know why you're complaining. Like, I get it, Spurs supporters like playing a good style of football, but you've played a good style of football and you've never won anything. Obviously, you've won something, but you haven't won anything since 2008. So why not experiment at least once with a serial winner? Yes, he does not have the style of football that you want to play, but he is a capable coach that is able to galvanize his troops, that is able to improve players, and therefore, like, potentially you could win a trophy for Tottenham. Like, he could win the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, and that would be a massive success for these guys, for Tottenham, because you literally haven't won any trophy in the past 14 years. Like, come on guys, like, I honestly don't get the Spurs supporters who are criticizing Antonio Conte. I get it if they're criticizing him and they're calling for him to be sacked at the end of the season when they've not won anything and they have not made top 4. But to be calling for Antonio Conte to get sacked, to be criticizing him this much, only after 12 games so far this season, I think is a bit premature. And I think, like, one thing you can say is that be careful what you wish for, because Antonio Conte might leave and you get a football coach that's going to play a better style of football, but is not going to be the serial winner that Antonio Conte is, and is not going to win, and he's not going to have even a slim chance of winning a trophy. So I think Spurs fans need to just pump the brakes a little bit and just give Antonio Conte an opportunity. By no means, guys, am I saying Antonio Conte should not be criticized or Spurs should not be criticized, because they have been awful in some games this season. Like in the Champions League, in their group, the fact that they struggled to finish top of that group is a shambles. Like, the teams they were playing against are nowhere near their level. Like, it was Marseille, Sporting, and Frankfurt, Eintracht Frankfurt. Now, that's a Europa League group at best. So, they should not be struggling to finish top. It should not be taking you 6 games to finish top of that group. So, I get it if you're criticizing him, but to be kind of like, to hear like a few whispers calling for him to be sacked and calling for another football coach, I think is a bit premature, from my personal opinion, from my personal point of view. Obviously, it's your club, and if you want to criticize him and you want to, like, be really calling for him to get sacked, you are entitled to do that. But I think people should just look at the situation that they're in, the Spurs supporters, and they should at least give him this season. Also, guys, you have to remember, this is Antonio Conte's first full season at Tottenham. Last season, he arrived in late November or early December, so he never had even a pre-season. This is his first full season at the football club. And he's improved. The likes of Emerson Royal, who before Antonio Conte went there was an absolute shambles. Now he's playing, like, at least at a decent level, let me say. I'm not going to say at an elite level, because, like, we can't mention Emerson Royal and elite in the same sentence. That's just that's a disservice to people who are elite. So I'm not going to say elite, but he's, like, putting on decent performances. And before Antonio Conte went to Tottenham, that was never happening. So I think they should be giving Antonio Conte a chance so that he can at least show what he can do. Yeah, guys, that's my kind of point of view with regards to Spurs going into this game. In that they actually have a good opportunity against Liverpool, because they're playing at home, and Liverpool are not playing that well at this moment in time, because, well, they haven't played well so far this season. They've played well in the Champions League, but in the Premier League, they've been very disappointing. They haven't won away from home. They've already lost at Anfield, and I think they only have 3 wins so far this season. So that just tells the story. And like, they've already lost more games than they lost in the whole of last season, because they lost against Man United, they lost against Arsenal, they lost against who else? Leeds, and they also lost against who? Who else did they lose against? But I'm pretty sure I heard this from someone. But basically, Liverpool have already lost more games this season than they did in the whole of last season. So that tells you about the drop-off that they've had, basically. So, see, guys, I'll show you my niece here. Look, there she is. So she just keeps coming here, and she wants to get, like, in the video. Say hello. Okay, let me now put you. So that just tells the story, guys, in terms of how bad Liverpool have been so far this season. The fact that they've lost more games this season, we're only 12 games into the season, they've already lost more games than they did in the whole of last season. So that just tells you how bad they've been so far this season. So I think, like, this is a good opportunity for Spurs to win against Liverpool, because Liverpool are not playing that well. They've been won away from home, and Spurs like sitting back and counter-attacking teams. Now, Liverpool traditionally like attacking teams. They like imposing themselves on teams, even though they've struggled to do that so far this season. So if Liverpool go to Tottenham and they try to impose themselves, I think it's the perfect game for Tottenham to play on the break, like how they want to play on the break, and have like multiple opportunities to hurt Liverpool. And if you give the likes of Son and Kane multiple opportunities, 9 times out of 10 they will be able to score and stick the ball in the back of the net. So I think this is also another fascinating game between Liverpool and Spurs, because Liverpool defensively, especially in the Premier League, even in the Champions League, if you watch them against Napoli, when they played in Naples against Napoli, they were an absolute shambles in that game. Like, literally, they were horrific that night. Like, they were so bad. It's like Napoli were, I don't know, like they made Napoli have really been good so far this season, I have to say. But Liverpool, like it was like you watching one of the best sides to ever play absolutely torment and dominate another opponent. Like, literally, apart from the goal Liverpool scored, they were just dominated from start to finish, and they were second best in all facets of the game. So defensively, Liverpool this season have really not been good. Even against Leeds, the last game they played in the Premier League, the first goal that they concede it's a horrific goal to concede, because Joe Gomez, literally, he plays a blind pass to the goalkeeper. He doesn't look where Alisson is, which is a schoolboy error, because at no point in time as a professional footballer should you be making a pass while not looking at where the pass is going. You have to have the ability to pick a pass while you're not looking at the football. If you have to look at the football to pick a pass, then you should be ashamed of yourself, like as a professional footballer. Like, you can't be playing at the highest level and you make the error of looking at the ball all the time and trying to pick a pass that you can't even see because you're looking at the ball. Like, you're better off just kicking the ball for a throw-in so that your team can reset, so that you can defend the situation a lot better, rather than going back to your goalkeeper, playing a blind pass to your goalkeeper while you are not aware of where your goalkeeper is. So I think, like, this is a really good opportunity for Spurs to hurt Liverpool, because Liverpool have really been vulnerable so far this season. Even though they've like been vulnerable against teams that have been in their faces, teams that have attacked them, teams that have pressed them, which is not what Spurs genuinely like to do. It's not what they tend to do when they play games. They try to counterattack most of the time. So I think it's going to be a really interesting game between Spurs and Liverpool, in the sense that Spurs have had a great start to the season because they're third and they're 5 points off top, but they're not playing great in terms of their style of football. Liverpool have had a horrible start to the season because they've only won 3 of their opening 12 games, and they keep suffering from injuries because their players are injury prone. So it's really going to be fascinating to see all these factors come into play on Sunday for that game, and to see who is going to be able to come out on top. Now, every time I've backed Spurs to win a game, they've disappointed me, so I'm not going to go for a Spurs win. But also, because I've watched some games of Liverpool so far this season, and considering how bad they've been so far this season, I also can't go for a Liverpool win. So I'm going to settle for a draw. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw between Spurs and Liverpool. Hopefully Tottenham win and Kane scores, because he's in my fantasy team. But I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw, because I just think, I'm not confident on either sides in terms of who is going to be capable of getting the result. So that's why I think, I would lean more towards a draw rather than a win for a certain team. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw for this one. Yeah, guys. So, and then obviously moving on to the other games that are not involving, obviously, that obviously involve the big six, so like Man United and City and the other clubs. Okay, just never mind. I even said that, but basically, I'm looking. Okay, now let's go on to Man City versus Fulham. I don't know why it took so long to get there, but basically, I'm going on to Man City v Fulham. Obviously Fulham. I've watched Fulham a few times this season. I watched them on the opening day of the season when they played against Liverpool. They were really good on that day, and they were unlucky not to win that game. It was the quality of Liverpool rather than the performance of Liverpool in that game that allowed them to get back into the game. Otherwise, Fulham completely dominated them and completely they were aggressive towards Liverpool, and Liverpool simply could not cope with the pressing of Fulham, the aggressiveness that they were playing at. So there's some games I've watched of Fulham so far this season that have really impressed me. And like obviously Fulham are the only problem that they have is that they dependent on Mitrovic to score the goals for them, because they don't have other players who are at a level whereby they can score 5 to 10 goals a season. But they have Mitrovic, who's a big, tall striker who's able to score who's able to score goals. Basically, he knows where the net is. Like you've seen how important Mitrovic is to Fulham when he's been missing this season, when he's been injured. In that Fulham have not been able to kind of finish the chances that they create when Mitrovic has not been playing. So I think he's playing tomorrow though. So and also Mitrovic is a real handful for defenders, because he's aggressive. He's powerful as well. So he's not a small diminutive striker. He's a big, tall, strong centre forward who is able to kind of bully some defenders who try to wrestle with him. So I think this is really going to be a very interesting game. But also, what's also going to be interesting is how Fulham set up. I've seen Fulham so far this season be really aggressive on the press and try to press from the front and try to win the ball high up the pitch. So I don't know whether they're going to do that when they play against us. I hope they do that, because I think, yes, they might cause us a few problems by doing that, but they're going to leave spaces when they do that. Meaning it's going to be a lot easier for us to score if they do that. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in terms of how they approach this game. Are they going to sit back and soak up pressure and try to counter-attack? Or are they going to try and press and try and win the ball and try and also create as many opportunities as they can? And obviously, with regards to Man City obviously are currently second in the Premier League, 2 points off Arsenal. And if Arsenal draw against Chelsea and City win, City will go top of the Premier League. And obviously, City have played, there's been some games when they've been a bit average, where they've not played well. I think we've also struggled so far this season with regards to our defense, because there's been a lot of chopping and changing in our back line, especially our two centre-back centre-backs who make up our centre-back partnership, because Laporte was injured at the beginning of the season and then he came back. So because he was injured at the beginning of the season, Stones was playing, and then he came back and Stones got injured. So Stones had to go off the side, and then Akanji went into centre-back, and then Ake goes into centre-back, then Ake got injured as well, and then Diaz was playing, then Laporte was playing. So there's been a lot of chopping and changing in that at the heart of that defense. And it's really important in football to have a consistent partnership, a consistent centre-back partnership, because you want those players who are playing there to be building a relationship between them, so that they're able to understand one another, so that they're able to know how to cover for one another, because that's what you need from your centre-backs. You need your centre-backs to defend for one another, not just defend for themselves, but to defend for one another, to make sure that if the other one makes an error, the other one is going to sweep and is going to clean up after the error. So I think that's really important with regards to any defense. Any successful defense has to have that. And that's what we've not had so far this season. And that's why we've conceded a few goals here and there. I was actually very happy when we won against Leicester last week, when we grounded out the result and we won 1-0. Because that was the first time I saw us doing that this season. Because so far this season, we haven't done that. And we've been behind in some games, but because we've got Haaland, he's bailed us out and he scored 2 goals or a hat-trick, and we've ended up winning the games, even though we have not played well. But against Leicester, we didn't really play at our maximum, but we still were able to win and keep a clean sheet. And that's why I was really happy last week when we won that game against Leicester, because I think it's an important characteristic for any successful team to have, to be able to grind out results. And that's what we did against Leicester. So I was really happy with that last week. And with regards to injuries, guys, like Walker is obviously still injured for City. Calvin Phillips is still injured. Erling Haaland has missed the last 2 games because he has a knock on his foot. And Pep said he's going to evaluate him after training today. And like when he said that, it was before they had training. So I can't really give a definitive answer with regards to whether Haaland is going to play or not tomorrow, because like I know he was training yesterday and he was training today, but in terms of how he feels after the training today and whether he's fit enough to start tomorrow, I'm not quite sure about that. And that's why I've actually taken him out of my FPL team, because I know that if he's feeling a little bit uncomfortable, then he's not going to play. Pep is not going to risk him because there's no need to risk him. Alvarez is a very good alternative to play, as he showed in the Champions League against Sevilla. Well taken goal from Alvarez against Sevilla, as well as getting 2 assists. So I don't think Pep is going to risk Haaland if Haaland is feeling a little bit of discomfort on his foot. He's just going to start Alvarez. So yeah, so those are the only injury concerns that we have. I'm not sure. Excuse me, guys. I'm not sure with regards to the injury concerns of Fulham. I'm not really sure whether they have any injuries. But I'm gonna go. Even though I've really been impressed with Fulham so far this season, I'm gonna go for a City win in this one. I'm going to go for a 3-0 comprehensive City win. I don't think we'll beat them 5-0 or 6-0, because I think Fulham are a good side and they're going to give a good account of themselves. But I'm going to go for a 3-0 City win tomorrow. Fingers crossed I get that prediction right. And then, obviously, the final game I'll be previewing, guys, is the game between Man United and these guys, Aston Villa. Man United are playing Aston Villa. Now, as I said in my intro for the video, in that Aston Villa have a new coach, Unai Emery. Obviously, some of us are going to remember Unai Emery because he was the coach of Arsenal, I think, 3 years ago, before Arteta went there. So many of us are going to recognize Unai Emery from that stint. But also, Unai Emery has coached in Spain. He coached Sevilla. He won 3 consecutive Europa Leagues with Sevilla. He was coaching Villarreal last season, and he took them to a Champions League semi-final, which is a massive achievement for a club of Villarreal's size. Like, literally, Villarreal don't spend more than, I think, 15 or 20 million pounds a year on transfers. So the fact that he was able to take them to the semi-finals of the Champions League, beating Bayern Munich in the process, I think that's a phenomenal achievement from him. So it's going to be really fascinating how he sets up his Villa side, because obviously we're going to be looking for the patterns of play in terms of how he's going to be trying to play. Even though I wouldn't be overly harsh on how he does in his first few games, because he simply has not had a lot of time to prepare and a lot of time to kind of introduce his tactics to the players, because he only started working at Aston Villa on the 1st of November, because he did not have a work permit, so he had to get a work permit first before starting to coach. So I wouldn't be overly harsh on him with regards to like he must play, like the team must play great football from the start and all of that stuff. Obviously, it must be to do the guys. It takes time to build a side. And Man United are building momentum with their team. Casemiro is really playing well. Christian Eriksen is playing well. Lisandro Martin is playing well at centre back. Rashford seems like he's confident. He's confident again. Scored in the last game Man United played against West Ham. So I think like Man United are really playing well at this moment in time. And Casemiro has been a revelation. To be honest, he's really like you can see the difference between someone who's not a world-class defensive midfielder and someone who is a world-class defensive midfielder. When you compare and contrast Man United performances when Casemiro is playing to when Scott McTominay was playing or Fred was playing in that same position. So he's really been very good, like really good for Man United. Christian Eriksen has also been very good for Man United in terms of picking passes from deep in midfield, picking passes from deep, like basically taking the ball from the centre backs and spraying balls over the top to the wingers or to the attacking midfielders. So Man United are really playing well at this moment in time, and Aston Villa obviously are like, they have a new coach for a reason. They've not played well so far this season, and their players have been really disappointing. So it's really going to be it's going to be quite fascinating to see how they do against Man United, because Man United are kind of building their momentum. Erik ten Hag is trying to stomp his authority in the side, even though I think Man United are still struggling with one main aspect in their game. Like you can see the patterns of play when they're playing. They like to press. They like to play on the front foot. They want to dominate possession. They want to pass the ball all the time. But one flaw to their team still is finishing. They don't have quality finishing. They create opportunities, but they don't have any cutting edge to finish those opportunities. But also, they don't create opportunities with relative ease. It's a bit like difficult for them to create opportunities from time to time. So I think if anything, Man United have struggled so like this season in terms of having a cutting edge in front of goal and being able to create clear-cut opportunities to score goals. I think that's the only thing that Man United have really been struggling with so far this season. Apart from those two games against Brentford and Brighton and against City, where they were shambles defensively, I think those are the things that they've been struggling with so far this season. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they do against Villa. But the more interesting thing, obviously, is how Villa do against Man United on the first game of Unai Emery at the football club. But I'm probably going to go for a Man United win, simply because of what I've seen from Man United so far this season and what I've seen from Aston Villa. I haven't seen Aston Villa under Unai Emery, so I don't know how they're going to play under Unai Emery. So I'm probably going to go for a thingy. I'm going to go for a Man United 2-1 narrow win. Because I think the players for Aston Villa are probably going to have a new manager bounce, so they're going to want to put on a great shift. They're going to want to put on a great performance for the new coach, because whenever a new coach comes to a football club, it's a clean slate for everyone. Everyone will get an opportunity, because that manager, first of all, doesn't know the players that are in the team, and as a result, he's not going to have any favorites. He's not going to have certain players that he knows are going to start before he even goes into practice. He's going to be looking at each and every one of the players, and he's going to be evaluating them individually and picking the best individuals that he thinks are going to give him the best performance. So I think, yeah, guys, it's going to be really fascinating to see the game between Man United and Villa. But I'm going to go for a narrow 2-1 Man United win. And that brings us to the end of the video, guys. Coming up to 48 minutes now. So I'll wrap up the video there. If you haven't done so, guys, please subscribe to the channel. And also, please push that thumbs up button to like the video if you like the content. And also, please push the notification bell so that you can get notified each time I post a new video. Actually, I forgot to say this at the beginning of the video, so I apologize for that. But please, guys, continue to support the channel. Please continue to subscribe to the channel and like the video, because it really helps with the YouTube algorithm. I really appreciate that support, and yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys supporting my channel, and I really appreciate that support, and I don't take it for granted. And if you have any comments, guys, on these games, or any comments on my thoughts, you can comment in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to try and reply to you guys. But yeah, guys, I'll wrap up the video there. Have a great evening, guys. Enjoy the games tomorrow and on Sunday, and yeah, guys, enjoy your weekend. Be safe. And this is Lukani Suchigela, and thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for watching the video. Have a great evening, guys. Ciao.